Hi guys, I'm Kier and this is my studio, and today we will be doing a review on these markers that were kindly sent to me from the nice people of Parkoo. Although these were sent to me, they did not pay me to say anything. They did not pay me at all. This is not an advertisement. So you are going to get my 100% honest review, as you always do. If you are an OG subscriber, then you already know what I have to do first. And if you're not, well, let me go ahead and tell you. I have to swatch each and every marker. I do this because quite often with alcohol-based markers, the ink is a different color from the color that's on the cap, as you can see here. That color was called 123 fluorescent yellow, and the cap makes it appear to be the brightest, most obnoxious highlighter yellow. However, when I swatched it, it's actually a pretty subtle highlighter yellow color. Actually, bordering not highlighter at all, if you ask me. I know on camera it's coming across as pretty bright, but looking at it on my piece of paper here, it's actually not as bright as it's picking up on camera. Another reason why I swatch my markers is because I need to see exactly how juicy they are. Now, if you're wondering what I mean by juicy, I simply just mean how the ink flows out of the marker. I'm looking for the ink to flow out nice and even and not be dry and patchy. So that's what I mean by juicy. The last reason why I swatch my marker is basically just to get a feel of the marker. Some alcohol-based markers come in a barrel that's very weird, and I worry if it's going to be comfortable to color with them. So this gets me acclimated to the barrel of the marker very quickly. So here's the sketch I did in order to test out these markers, and I got to say that I really do love her. I think it's mostly because she's inspired by Bowser, or I guess she's a fangirl of Bowser. Fun fact, I actually drew that Bowser on her back without looking at any references. And I think the only thing that I got wrong is that little logo doesn't have any nostrils on it. And yet I put nostrils on it, but still pretty proud of myself. Right now you're just watching me create a little border around the girl. I find this nice because it just centers her a little bit more and really makes the focus on her, and yet I don't have to color in a full background. So I guess it's just like the lazy girl method when you don't want to color a full background. Alright, so while you watch me play around with this sketch just a little bit, I'll go ahead and talk more about the markers. That's why you came here, right? Let's start with the barrel themselves. The barrel is white, which I like. I think I actually prefer the white barrels to black barrels in alcohol markers. I don't know why, but just a personal preference. Secondly, it's a double-sided marker. One side is a fine bullet nib, I would describe it as, and the other side is a broad chisel tip nib. The fine tip nib is easily identifiable because it has a gray strip, and it just lets you know, hey, this is the section that houses the fine tip nib. The barrel is a rounded triangular shape, so it fits nicely in my hand, and I find it very comfortable to color with. On both covers, there are little, what are these little polka dots? We can call them stoppers. We're gonna call them stoppers. I promise I'm educated, but we're gonna call these little things stoppers. And I'm saying that because, oh no, I guess the proper word would be like grooves or something. Anyways, yeah, these little grooves stop the marker from rolling around on the desk. So I really appreciate that. That's all I really have to say about the barrel of the markers. They're pretty nice. I have no complaints. But the most important thing, the reason why we buy alcohol based markers, is for the ink. So let's go ahead and talk about it. The ink is great. The ink is great. Like, I have no complaints. That's it. Review over. Buy these markers. No, but seriously, the ink is awesome. They even have these metallic markers in the set, and I love the gold. It's shiny, shiny enough, but not too shiny, where it's obnoxious and there's a glare that's casted because of the shine. No, it's a very subtle sign, but subtle sign? Subtle shine. There we go. I know English. But yeah, it's very subtle, so it's perfect for scanning your pictures. The metallic markers are very opaque. I mean, she thick. Like the ink in there comes out thick, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that as a bad thing, but I would compare the ink more to a paint marker than a alcohol marker, which once again is not a bad thing. I love my paint markers, and honestly, I would buy a buttload of these type of markers from Parkoo. It's just interesting, and I think something worth noting because the ink in the metallic markers are very different compared to the ink in the regular markers. Both markers are great though, don't get me wrong. I love them both. The ink in the regular alcohol based markers are very nice. It comes out very juicy and it blends super well together, almost too well. I used two different reds in that hat, but as you can see, it blended pretty nicely. It blended into almost one red. So it's like if you are worried about blending, these markers got your back, okay? Like they did their things. They outperformed. And let me tell you, I'm always a little skeptical about purchasing I don't want to say cheap alcohol markers, but we'll say less expensive alcohol based markers because you get what you pay for. And typically, when you buy a brand that's less expensive, you can see the difference. And I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody, that's just how it usually is that I've noticed, in my opinion. However, these markers did their thing, and I ain't mad at them. Okay, I see you, Parkoo. I see you. The blending with these markers are definitely very good with dark colors and with light colors. So I got to say, these markers are, they're pretty up there in markers that I would suggest to people. My only beef with these markers is how they name it. I don't understand. For the hat, I used the color 10 and the color 12. And the color 12 is lighter than the color 10. And I just, I don't get it. I don't get how how they name everything. But I mean, that's really neither here or there. As long as there's a name, I'm really good because I just need to know what the name is. So if someone asks me, hey, what color are you using? I can refer them to that color. So other than that, I really have no beef with Parkoo markers. I think these things are awesome. If you can get over not having a brush nib, which I know some of y'all I mean, y'all freaking swear up and down by brush nibs. Don't get me wrong, they're great, but just try to use a bullet tip nib, and I swear these markers will give you life. If you can get over the fact that it's not a brush nib, these markers will give you life. At least they did for me. Now, I did not use any coloring pencils in this piece because I wanted to let the markers sing for themselves. You know, I wanted to show you guys exactly what you get with these markers. And had I used colored pencils like I typically do, I feel like it could just alter the view, because when I use colored pencils, it's to put more detail that I feel like markers sometimes cannot give me, because I can layer with the colored pencils and then layer with the markers, and it just adds something different. So, no coloring pencils this time. However, I think they still did a great job. Honestly, you guys, I would put them on the same level as my artisan markers, and I love those things too. So I don't know. If you guys want to see like a versus between the two, let me know. But that's it for now. I'll see you when I see you.